Hello and welcome to Modelled Ads. Today we've got a bit of a treat to share with you, a review of the new Plastic Soldier Company's board war game The Great War, which at the moment is only available to Kickstarter backers. The game is expected to go on widespread circulation shortly for around £59.99. As its name suggests, Richard Borg's Command and Colours The Great War allows two players to game important engagements during the First World War. Whilst this, the first set, concerns itself with trench warfare on the Western Front, subsequent expansion sets are planned and will include clipped-together 1/100 scale tanks, aeroplanes, other nationalities, including the French, and the Eastern Front. A German and French language edition is also planned for later this summer. Given this type of war game, it's always difficult to start a review, so let's kick off with the blindingly obvious. For your £60, you're going to get a large box, chock full of stuff. Each set contains the following components: one double-sided game board, 7 terrain and accessory punch boards containing 58 double-sided terrain tiles, 30 HQ tokens, 2 targeting templates, 4 reserve artillery rectangular tokens, 20 German and British double-sided victory medal tokens, 58 command cards, 2 victory medal cards, 40 combat cards, 8 battle dice, 5 regular or targeting dice, 1 rulebook with 16 scenarios, 2 unit and terrain summary sheets, and then the eye candy: 162 1/100th or 15mm scale figures including infantry, bomber, machine gun and mortar teams. And finally, and thoughtfully, some Ziploc bags to put all of the above in. The quality of the components are consistent with the high standards you've come to expect from the Plastic Soldier Company. The double-sided game board and punch-out tokens are all printed in colour on thick card in an appropriate style that's aesthetically very pleasing. I particularly like Peter Dennis's illustrations inside the rulebook and on the 58 command cards that are themselves clear and concise, evocative and sometimes amusing. All printed in an appropriately muted tone on high-quality textured card. The figures come on 6 injection moulded hard plastic sprues, 3 each for the British and Germans. Figures are characteristic of the Plastic Soldier Company's recent World War II offerings in that they are cleanly cast and well detailed, but with some, notably the crew of the support weapons, lacking convincing animation or poses. To be fair, these are first and foremost gaming pieces, so these aspects may be more or less important to you. The machine gun teams are easily assembled from their 3 respective parts. Whilst all are well tooled, it's possible to conclude that some of the finer parts, like bayonets, have been simplified and thickened when compared to the Plastic Soldier Company's World War II figures, presumably in anticipation of the robust handling they'll experience during play. The British are represented wearing 1914 pattern webbing, Brodie helmet and equipped with short magazine Lee Enfield Mark III. As with Plastic Soldier Company's World War II British infantry, the haversack universally worn on the left is modelled on the right, and whilst this inaccuracy is repeated across the range, it's the pedant in me that feels that I need to comment on it. The Germans are equipped with 1916 Stahlhelm and 1915 transitional or blue-stripe wooden tunic. The 51-page softbound rulebook is printed in colour, with 19 pages devoted to the rules, 14 to an explanation of the various cards and tokens, and 16 dedicated to the 16 scenarios which cover engagements from 1915 to 1917. The rules are clearly laid out and written in plain English, with 2 introductory scenarios that teach you the basics of going over the top. After a couple of read-throughs and a bit of cross-referencing, you'll be feeling confident enough to set up your first game. Other than a typo in scenario 14 detailing 8 hills rather than the 7 illustrated, I didn't spot anything else untoward. I've not played any Command and Colours or Memoir 44 games, but have to agree with the general consensus that the mechanics are simple and easy to get to grips with. The aim of the game is to be the first to achieve the number of victory medals set by the scenario. You do this by destroying your opponent's forces and or capturing and or holding objectives. Scenarios are played out over the double-sided game board, measuring 63 cm high and 72 cm wide, itself divided into 3 sections, with the reversible terrain tiles placed over 6 cm wide hexes and your forces deployed in accordance with the brief. Players take turns committing their units over 5 phases, which can be interrupted on occasion by their opponent playing combat cards. A typical turn will consist of a player selecting a command card from their randomised hand to give orders to units within a given sector of the board or across the front as a whole. Command cards consist of a variety of orders like recon right or attack centre. Cleverly, some commands have intuitive bonuses like recon, which allows a player to draw 2 combat cards at the end of their turn and keep the most advantageous in acknowledgement of the time-honoured maxim that time spent on reconnaissance is seldom wasted. Players select the ordered units and move them 1 or 2 hexes accordingly. Units moving 1 hex may engage in ranged or close quarter combat, the results of which are determined by rolling the battle dice. The exact number of dice rolled is determined by the type and range of the weapon employed. For example, infantry roll 3 dice in close combat with an adjacent opponent, or 1 dice when shooting at a maximum range of 4 hexes. The number of hits scored is determined by the dice rolled and the type of terrain the target occupies. For every hit scored, a figure is removed from the unit. When all of the figures are removed, the unit is considered destroyed and a medal awarded. It's worth looking at the battle dice a little further. Hits are achieved for every blast symbol rolled. A hit is also achieved for every soldier rolled if the target is in the open. Terrain types like forest and buildings reduce hits inflicted if a soldier is rolled. The number of flags rolled indicates the number of hexes a target is forced to retreat if caught in the open. Again, terrain mitigates some of the worst effects of this. The deadly die only comes into play during close combat by essentially increasing the chances of a hit. HQ results enable players to draw HQ points. HQ points allow players to use their combat cards and activate reserve artillery. At the start of a game, a player draws a given number of combat cards which represent military actions or characteristic random events. The cards, like trench raid, are played as appropriate within a given turn or in reaction to an opponent's actions and incur an advantage or penalty relative to the card type used. Reserve artillery can be activated by the artillery bombard command card or as an order from a section command card and allows off-board artillery to attack any hex on the board with an intensity and spread determined by the number of HQ points spent up to a limit set by the scenario. At the end of a turn, the player draws a new command card and has the choice of drawing 1 combat card or gaining 2 HQ points. Once you get to grips with these basic mechanics by playing through the 2 opening scenarios, turns flow quickly, assisted by reference to the useful summary sheets. We played through a couple of games in around 60 to 70 minutes each and found coordinating orders through command cards, whilst carefully accumulating the necessary number of HQ points to execute advantageous combat cards, strategically challenging and hugely entertaining. If you find yourself waiting for that perfect moment when all your cards align to deliver that long-anticipated decisive blow, then think again. You're likely to find yourself hanging on the wire in no man's land at the mercy of a more pragmatic opponent, better able to judge when good was really good enough. Elegantly simple, strategically satisfying and aesthetically well executed, it's difficult to say anything negative about the Great War. The machinations allowed by the mechanics may put it beyond the meaningful participation of some of those in the lower age brackets of 8 upwards, but whilst you wait for them to grow old, the deck-based system easily lends itself to solo play. If you're looking for an enduring World War I board war game with room to grow, then the Great War comes highly recommended.